with Norna Scraps, and today we're going to be working on adding to our motif library. I'm calling it Blackwork since that's what my last blog post was about. You can find more information on my blog, which is listed at the bottom, and you can also find some resources that I found in Pinterest so that you can look through and glean what you would like to create your own motifs with. However, in creating motifs, it's not as simple as just finding a design. Let's go through some of the basics of what you want to find. You have to ask yourself every time you look at a design in either Blackwork, cross stitch, or anything, is there a defined individual segment? Because you don't want to have to add points clear across the page. You want something that can be repetitive. Is there a true start and stop point of the individual segment? In other words, is there a place that when you stop naturally leads to the start of the next segment of your design? Finally, can it be drawn left to right? In other words, motif fill will go naturally in one direction. Will it create a design that can go that direction easily? So first you have to find the individual segment, and you can see on my screen that I have encircled what is the repetitive part. You might ask yourself why I stopped where I did. It's not perfect up there, but if you can see the small loop, it actually leads at the end of the small loop, the part going up right there, all the way around, would end at where my arrow is. I didn't quite get it encircled correctly because the beginning is this segment right here. That will be a little more obvious when we go to digitize our design. So again, the true start and stop. This particular segment, not the whole design, but this particular segment begins where the green arrow points and ends where the red arrow points. Can this design travel left to right? The answer is yes, but you have to plan through your design. As in all digitizing, you can't go do it. You gotta plan it. If you look at my graphic, the first path of stitches are done in the green arrows, and it comes out to this point. You can refer back to the original segment of the design. The red arrow is a return to the center of this bottom line. The blue, return. The yellow, return. The pink picks it up and actually takes it around my entire design and will stop where we decided the end of this repeat is. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to open our Stitchartist software and we're going to create an environment that is motif creator friendly. We're going to begin with our opening screen, and I'm sorry, I know this is going to hurt, but we have to change the measurements to millimeters, and then we're going to select our preferences. Okay, so we're in our preferences menu, and don't worry, I'm going to go back and show you in the Embrilliant software everything that I do. I'm just going to take it a little bit at a time. The first thing I'm going to do is select my hoops. You can see the green arrow pointing to number 1, and I'm going to select the new button under hoop style. Now this may look slightly different right in here because I have a Janome machine and I use the Jeff format. Once I've selected new, I get a new window and it's for a new hoop. And I'm going to, in the name box, select what's in there, and I'm going to type in the word motif. I keep a motif hoop ready just because I never know when I'm going to want to create a motif for what I'm doing. I'm going to set the width of my hoop at 25 millimeters and my height at 25 millimeters. Remember, we changed our overall measurement to millimeters. This is part of the reason why it becomes less confusing and is much, 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 much more accurate because everything defaults in as far as hoops, etc., to millimeters. And after I set, again, highlighting the box, typing in the number, I select OK, and that will create a hoop. and I will select apply, and my hoop will appear on my screen. Once it is created, it will appear in this listing and it will be under the title Motif. However, I have had the software accidentally dump my hoops that I've created in when I've had to update. I usually make note of what these new hoops are so I can reference them later. Again, in preferences, this time I'm going to select grid settings directly underneath hoop and environment. I'm going to select metric spacing, and I'm going to set the horizontal and vertical spacing at 2. Normally, stitches will be at 2.5. That's somewhere between 2 and 2.5 for as far as a running stitch. That means that you're not going to be stitching on yourself over and over. But this is not about the stitch. This is about, that's kind of a visual reference for size. This is about the grid, the one that we were looking at on our original design. Our little blocks are going to be 2 millimeters apart. I want to snap to grid, and then I'm going to select apply. Now I'm going to start designing. I'm going to select create design from my toolbar, and that will bring me into this tool pane. In Stitchartist 3, you have a lot of tools available to you. So which ones are we going to use? The first one we're going to look at is the default curve. It's the green arrow. The default for the software, unless you do what I did and accidentally toggle it, is normally set to curves. That means when you left mouse click, you automatically get a curve. We want it to be line, and it looks like the corner. So you simply do it by selecting that tool, clicking on it, and it will turn gray. That means gray gauged, like I said in my last video. The next tool that we're going to be using is draw with points. It is underneath the blue arrow. And finally, we're going to be applying a running stitch to our design. It is under the red arrow. That said, we're going to go to our brilliant software, Stitchartist 3 software, and we are in the Create menu. You can tell by the tools where you are, and we're going to set our measurements to millimeters. It's already been selected, so that means that along here you will see a millimeter measurement, and then we're going to go to our yellow preference pane. Select that, and we're going to create a hoop for our motifs. We're going to select the new, type in the name motif, set the width at 25 millimeters and the height at 25 millimeters. Just an interesting comparison, 25 millimeters is 2.5 centimeters and is 1 inch. That's about all I can remember. Excuse me. And we're going to select OK, and then we're going to select apply. Now I want to show you right here, if you look, there's a motif hoop. I have two, sorry. There's a motif hoop in my listing, so I can select it at a future time. Select OK. Looks awfully small, doesn't it? But let's go back to the preferences, and we're going to select our grid settings. We're going to show the grid as a line, and we're going to have our metric spacing as 2 and our vertical spacing as 2. We've also toggled on snap to grid, and we're going to have to select apply, and you can see that the background has changed to a lot of little squares, and we're going to select OK. Again, it looks very almost intimidating. We're going to now go to the Create Design menu. Up here, select our zigzag column, and you can see that my tools have changed. We're going to change the default drawing to a line, and you can see the corner becomes square. We're going to, in a moment, use our draw with points, and then we're going to change it to run line. So I have my graphic that I was looking at earlier, and I'm going to begin digitizing my motif. Now, if you look up here at the gridded black and white, it will tell you how many squares you're going to be traveling across. Again, I'm going to be using my point mode input. So I'm going to select that, gray it, and now I'm going to begin. I'm going to start here, click, left mouse click, left mouse click. Now I'm going to come down, left mouse click. Now it's across two squares, left mouse click, left mouse click, left mouse click. And this is where it gets to be a little bit tricky. Here's where my green arrow extends two squares over, and then it comes back. And then it extends three squares down, and then it returns. Then it extends again, two, and it returns. Back. And I'm pretty much just echoing the two sides. Over. One. I believe it's one square down, one square down, square, square, and to my end. Now I'm going to click enter, and I may go back, and although this is pretty small, I am going to go ahead and just snap my nodes to the grid where they seem to be a little wonky. You know, it's one of those technical terms. And let me go. And I want it to be the starting and the stopping of motifs for fills or lines usually need to be in the same plane. Okay, so again, select enter. And now I am going to select my design. And you can see that if you look closely, and I'm sorry this is small, it pretty much echoes what's here. The little balls at the end, we're not going to worry about right now. I could do it, but I'm not going to. So I'm going to apply my running stitch. In the manual, it does say that you can use the line draw, and it will adjust it as necessary. And that's if you prefer to do that. This is me. I like to do it this way. And it looks pretty good as far as what I can see. I've followed this path, and there's my motif. So now the big deal is to simply, we're going to save it as a motif. And what I'm going to do is I will come up to my create, and I'm going to create publish, motifs, select that, and then I get a new menu or a new window. Digitizer name is me. That's because that's who's on my software. My collection is Blackwork, and I'm going to name this blog, but that's because what I'm writing this for. For my use only, okay. And now I'm going to save it as a BX. Later I can go ahead and catalog it, and I'm going to save it to my embroidery designs and save. Say okay. Now I'm going to go back to my software. I'm going to set it up as I normally would use it, and we're going to use this as a fill. I kind of left you hanging there, I'm sorry. In order to use this motif as a fill or as a line art, I have to have a new window open. In other words, I can't just use this create design. It won't be readable. So I'm going to close out of this window, selecting it, save, whatever. And I'm going to have a new window open, Now, I'm still set up with millimeters, I know. So I'm going to go back to inches by selecting it. I'm going to come to my grid and I'm going to change my horizontal and vertical to 10, or I can reset to defaults. That makes it fairly simple. Click apply and click OK. And now I'm going to go to my I'm sorry, I should have done this in preferences. I'm going back to my hoops and I'm going to do my 140 by 140 millimeter for my Jeff hoop. You use what you've got. Apply and OK. Now I'm going to go back full screen. Oops, almost full screen. Sorry about that. And I am going to go to create design. And let's say I want to do, let's just use an outline from the library. We'll do a heart. Say OK. And I'm going to make this heart fairly big. Now remember, we're going to be using our new motif fill. So I'm going to select fill, the motif fill toggle right there. I'm going to go to add, and I'm going to look down for the name. I named it Blackwork blog. There it is. And I'm going to say OK. And there I have my Blackwork design just as I created it. I can adjust the height and the width, and I can make it, oh wow, let's go height of 5, and that'd be 5 down, 5. Say OK, and it will adjust. I can also rotate it, and that looks kind of nice, but this is kind of fun. Let's get rid of this. I want to show you what you can do with a line. I'm going to create just a straight line if I do the right toggles. And say OK. Not real straight there. Straighten it out. Now I'm going to go to motif, add, select, because it was the last selected, my Blackwork, OK. Now, watch this. I'm going to select the line, copy it and paste it, and now I'm going to go in the line next to motif. I'm going to flip it. I have an awesome border that I've just created. I hope you can take away a little scrap of information that will make your use of Stitchartist 3 just that much more flexible. Until next time.